Welcome back. European left-wing political leaders have held talks in Paris on pressing issues including economic reforms and far-right sentiment spreading across Europe.
Nowadays, Europe is in a critical crossroads, so we need to come back in our foundation values in order to isolate the extreme right forces that is the real threat for Europe now.
Well, the French President, François Hollande, chaired the meeting, which was attended by EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini, European Parliament President Martin Schulz and Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipris, among others. The talks come as Europe's expected to finalise a migrant deal next week to send thousands of refugees back to Turkey. Well, let's discuss this subject in more depth now. Our guest is independent political analyst Gearóid Ó Colmáin. Gearóid, welcome. Star-studded, if you look at the names gathering there in Paris. How would you characterise this meeting? What was this about?
This is about social democrat leaders meeting in Paris to try and find a way of formulating a programme that they can sell to their electorate so that the parties who are in power, such as the French Socialist Party, can get re-elected. And parties like the Syriza outfit of Tsipris can pretend that they serve working class interests. This is a meeting really to discuss how they're going to strategize their elections, and it's absolutely has nothing to do with left-wing ideology. These are all right-wing parties. These are all imperialist parties. They all support the foreign wars that have created the migration crisis. Social democracy traditionally has always functioned as an agency of the ruling class in the labour movement. And the function of people like Corbyn, Tsipris and Hollande is to sell capitalism to workers. And the problem with that is, of course, that workers in France certainly are not buying it, but they don't have a coherent political representation which can tie all of the factors driving their misery. Which could tie all those factors together to explain why, in fact, they're experiencing the hardship that they're experiencing. Because on the one hand, you have these parties saying, we want open borders, refugees welcome, and so on. And then they all support continuing the war in Syria. We know, for example, that the rebels, the terrorists in Syria, are still receiving arms. And Hollande's administration has been the most belligerent French administration in this war. So you are talking about essentially a French government which is a neoconservative and right-wing, pretending to fear the rise of the far right. I'm not sure how you could be more right-wing than the Hollande government. Since the government talks about human rights and decorates Saudi princes with the Légion d'honneur, I think that's a bit of a joke. So that's essentially what this is about. It's just an attempt by these politicians to stay in power or to get into power.
The refugee crisis, that's also meant to be on the agenda. Hollande, though, said the EU mustn't grant Turkey any concessions in exchange for stemming the flow of migrants. Given that condition, if it is indeed one, is Europe likely to achieve any kind of deal?
Hollande has spoken again about the importance of human rights. Of course, that is all part of the French state propaganda. The French state continually, sells this notion of human rights. I already alluded to the fact that they decorate head choppers in Saudi Arabia, in the most despotic kingdoms in the world. So that just to explain that when Hollande talks about the importance of not giving concessions to Turkey on human rights, that's obviously ridiculous. I don't think that the new deal with Turkey is going to change anything. The Turks are asking for a lot more, actually. They want more money all the time. And the Turkish regime is openly supporting ISIS in Syria. They're openly supporting Jafat al-Nusra. It's been shown over and over and over again. They're obviously, you cannot possibly rely on them. The real fear in Europe right now is more in the Balkans, because a lot of the countries in the Balkans don't trust the Turkish regime. because of its support for ISIS, because of its support for terrorism, and because of their colonial history. Let's not forget that the Balkan countries were part of the Ottoman Empire, and there are very serious ethnic issues there.
Gearóid, I do apologise. I'm afraid just because of time constraints, we're going to have to bring an end to our interview there. But many thanks for joining. It's been interesting to listen to your thoughts. Gearóid Ó Colmáin, independent political analyst, our guest. And let's